Hey everybody, always Dizzy here. It's finally time for me to make this video. Am I looking at this camera? Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's finally time for me to make this video. I've had this on my to-do list for a while now. I've been holding off on it just because there's so much I want to say about this that I didn't really know where to start. I'm not sure if I want to make this split this across several videos or just make it one massive video. I'm not sure. I guess I'll find out. Okay, yeah, so this video is all about how I build my opening repertoire. I want to clarify and stress that this is what I personally do. It's not a video stating, I'm not preaching that this is what everybody should do. I'm not saying that this is the only way to do it, but this is the way that I personally build my own opening repertoire. Now, as an adult improver, I may not be very good at end games. I may not be very good at positional play, at tactics, at middle game, at strategy. But if there's one thing that I am good at in chess, it's openings and my opening repertoire. At my level, it's not the most efficient way to improve, but I really, really enjoy opening study and working on my openings. That it doesn't matter. I mean, I enjoy it, so I'm going to spend time on it. So maybe it's not quite the most efficient way to improve, but I enjoy it. So so the amount of work I put into my opening prep is beyond ridiculous. And maybe I will regret saying this one day, but I'm going to be so bold and say it. I think my opening, not my overall opening knowledge, but the amount of work I put into my openings rivals that of any titled player. Honestly, I am constantly working on my openings all day long. So even if I'm not at my computer, I will always have my computer running 24/7, literally 24/7. I will have Stockfish calculating, crunching out a line, so probably at least half, probably closer to 60 to, dare I even say 70% of my time working on chess is dedicated to opening improvement. Okay, so with all of that said, and is this still recording? Yes, it is. Where to start? I don't even know where to start. So I guess let's get a few things out of the way. So my level, I'm 2200 Lichess Rapid, 2100 classical, about on Lichess. That's approximately my rating. If you are a lot lower rated, the more lower rated you are, the less openings really matter. And I'm sure a lot of people might have questions like, what openings should I play? What openings should I learn? Again, I don't really want to make this video about lecturing on what others should do. I guess I won't really touch that. I will talk about what I do again. So my approach to openings is, man, this is gonna be a long, boring video. I haven't even gotten into the nitty gritty of it, but it's not boring to me. Hopefully somebody finds it interesting. But my approach is kind of similar to MVL in that I have a 100% narrow opening repertoire. I play one opening line for everything. I only play one line is white, one line is black, one variation for every line. I don't have alternate choices, except maybe in some very extreme scenarios I have like two variations, but pretty much never. I have one move I play against every single move that I see in any variation, any line. Now, that might, some people might argue that might get kind of boring. And also you could argue that I don't get to see as many different types of positions. And that is, those are both true. But on the upside, I know my openings extremely well. I know my positions very well because I get them game after game after game. And instead of going wide where you play everything, then you're kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. I'd rather have it the other way around where I'm a specialist in what I play, right? I just know my lines very, very well. Another downside is that people can prep against me quite easily because I'll play the same thing time and time again. And that is a danger. On the other hand, again, I know my lines so well, so I should know pretty much whatever people throw at me, even if they prepare something. I mean, it works for MVL at the top super GM level, where, you know, he kind of plays the same thing. He's slowly starting to branch into different things, but that's my personal approach. Okay, so with all that being said, let's get into some more of the technical parts of it. So the main tool that I use to work on my openings is a chess software program called Chess Position Trainer. I call it CPT for short. That's what you see here on the screen. This is it's software. There's two versions. There's a free version and then a paid version. It's cheap. Even if the paid version is cheap, I think it's like $20 or something. I think it might be more. I forget. But the free version actually does pretty much everything you need it to do. I don't even think you need to pay. I don't even think you need the paid version for most people. Unfortunately, my greatest fear happened. It's not a very popular software, and so it's not being supported anymore. I've tried contacting the owner a million times. He stopped replying to my emails and my support requests. He did reply in the beginning, but it just seems like a defunct piece of software now. I hope he comes back to it one day because there's some improvements I would like to see done to it, and it's just a shame that he just walked away from it. There's no other software that does what CPT does. chessspace comes close, but it doesn't work in the same way that I would like CPT to. I almost considered making a new software, like getting into, developing a new software myself that will allow me to work on the openings the way that I do, but it's a headache and expensive to get that done. Anyways, I still use this software. This is the main core of how I build my openings. Everything is revolved around this. All my openings are stored in a CPT format with this software. When I travel to tournaments, I back up my CPT file, put it on my laptop, and Okay, so as you can see, as I said before, I'm running and crunching lines constantly. Even as I record this video, I always have CPT open, literally 24/7. I only close it when I reboot to update Windows. I wonder how much money I would have made if I was mining Bitcoin or something, cryptocurrencies, instead of running CPT, instead of running Stockfish 24/7. In any case, you can see it running right here. I guess you can. Let me move my webcam. Okay, so here you can see Stockfish running. in the lower right-hand corner over there. There. Okay, where to start? So I'm going to update this actually so that I can show you around. Now, normally most lines I will run to depth 49 with Stockfish, the latest version. I always have the latest version of Stockfish, and I actually even I run benchmarks on the different types of Stockfish, because you can get them in different forms, and I go with the fastest version. Okay, so let me just update this. This video is going to be so crazy. Okay, I haven't even. Okay, so I'm just going to round up on the clock. This is depth 40. So I normally run to depth 49, but later on I'll tell you why. In this case, I'm not, and actually it just updated to depth 44. I'll get to this later, but before I can show you around, with Stockfish you can't stop and you can't like pause and continue. So let me just undo this. Oh wait, and no, you can't see. Oh, you can't see there. Okay. Okay, so the winner is, ooh, that's a tight one. I'm going to go with Bishop Knight F3 though. Okay, so let me show you around. So CPT has a lot of different features. You can like organize your openings by this like a little tree and by name and everything. And it has features where you can actually drill your openings. So you can go to training here and it will give you like a random position, or you can select a certain type of opening. It will give you different positions and have you drill, have you practice and drill them. I used that feature for maybe a week or two in the beginning. I haven't used that in years. What I use CPT for personally is really to store all of my openings, to keep all my notes and to keep all my chosen moves stored in this database. So let's take an example. So let's say I am playing black, and let's say somebody plays the Grob against me. Oh, that's the Polish. Okay, let's say somebody plays the Grob against me. Now this line I haven't updated in a very long time because I haven't seen it. Maybe I should do the Polish. Maybe that's a better example. Okay, so I just make a move on the board, and I know I'm covering up the board, but you don't need to see this portion of the screen. So B4, right? So white plays B4. I'm black. I'm the bottom. I have my notes on this side here, and so I will display what this move is in the database. And for the database, I use chessspace. I use the 2021 version, and I have it filtered by games that are 2400 and up. And I'll show you that. I'll show you that soon. I guess I'll show you it now. Okay, let me switch the screens here. This video is going to be insane. This is why I was scared to make it. Okay, here we go. So I here in chessspace. Whoops, that's a different position. So let me start over. Okay. So as I said, I created a special database that's in chessspace that's just filtered for games that are 2400, where both players are rated 2400 FIDE and higher. And I also made them slow games. So I filtered out all of the non-classical time control games because I don't really want to, because players might play a lot more liberally in like blitz games. They might play a lot of, maybe not the best lines in openings in blitz games and in rapid games. So I have it just 2400 and up and slow games. And so here we have the database. And so what I do is, so the first move, the Polish, right? So B4, So I will sort it by number of games. So I used to originally do this in Lead Chess, and then I upgraded to chessspace when doing this because it's just more accurate. The database is it's much larger. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's the ninth most popular move. B4 is. Okay, and then I will put that in my notes. So this is the ninth most popular move. And what I will also do is I will sort here I will look through the annotated games. And most of the annotated games are aren't very helpful because they're actually not annotated, or they're annotated in Spanish or German, mostly in German. Most of them don't actually have English. Well, here's one though, and if I open it up, you'll see it a little bit larger. So the orangutan or Polish opening is not a frequent guess in top level chess. So not really useful for us on this move, not a useful comment. And this particular annotation isn't really that useful in general, except, yeah, most of them aren't. It's only move 1, so you're not going to get anything here. But anyways, when I build my opening repertoire, I will consult every single annotated game and pick out if there's anything useful. Because often there'll be something like, oh, the point of this move is that white wants to develop the dark squared bishop to maybe a3 or whatever, and da-da-da-da-da. It was first conceived by Kasparov in 1986, and it's not so popular now, blah, 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 blah. And I will often put that into my notes. So getting back, oh, I can just use this screen. Okay. Well, getting back to CPT. Yeah, so that's what this is. So I'm just showing, no, it's cut off. Let me do this. Full screen share. There we go. So that's just, so I put nines main, chessspace 21 in my notes to show what database I'm using and how it's filtered. And I'm just put the name of the opening here. Now, so I have my response is E5. And the way I determine what I'm going to play against a move, it's primarily Stockfish influenced. Like 90% of it is on what I choose is basically what Stockfish's top choices, okay? But not always. But that's the base of how I make my decision. So what I did here is I ran to depths 51, which is a long time. I ran with Stockfish 14.1, and I referred to chessspace 2021 with the filter of 2400 and up, and it took me 4 hours and 6 minutes, okay, to get to depths 51, and I ran 3 lines. The number of lines I run depends on a number of factors. Mainly it depends on how close the evaluations are. So if I'm early on in the depths and all 3 lines are like very equal, I will start over and run 4 lines because I want to have a bigger picture. I want to have a bigger discrepancy between the numbers. If the first one is a clear favorite, like +1, and the next one is like +0.5, then I'll just run 3 lines. At a minimum, I typically run 3 lines. I've run as many as like I think 10 lines before when things were really close and I wanted to see what the evals of everything was. And then these are just based off of the chessspace again. So the main lines, third main, second, and so on. So I really use a combination of Stockfish, so a deep depth dive of Stockfish, running a long time into a deep depth. And then I also consult the professional databases to see what the most popular lines are. That will help me make my decision of what I want to play. But I don't just base it off of Stockfish. A lot of things will influence on what I choose. However, there's a certain range of where I will always play the top engine move. And that tends to be on usually about 30 centipawns is my limit. Meaning, if there's a 30 centipond difference in eval or over 30 centipawns, I'm always going to go with the best eval as my response. It might be hard to play. It might be super sharp, super dangerous. It doesn't matter because the eval shift is so large that I'm just going to play the best move. When I started doing this whole system, I mean, because I've evolved the system over time, and in the very beginning, I always chose the top computer move, no matter what, even if it was by one centipawn or 5 centipawns. Then I started to change it to allow myself like 10 centipawns difference and then 15. These days it's about 30, but in some cases I will even do a 40 centipawns. This is quite rare, but there's a move in the Carol Con that I switched to about a year and a half ago, and that's about a 40, close to a 40 centipawns difference, and meaning my move is 40 centipawns worse than the best move according to Stockfish, but I play it because I really like it, and I think it's really difficult for my opponent to play against. So there are situations where I will go over my 30 centipawns limit, but yeah. So basically, again, if one move is like about is 30 centipawns or more of a difference between the next best move, I will always go with that move. But if it's like 10 or 20 centipawns, it doesn't make a big difference. That's not a big deal at all. And that's nothing. So you shouldn't, or I don't let that affect my decision if it's like, yeah, if it's just that small of a difference. Another thing I do is I always transpose. Okay, so if I have two moves, I mean, unless again, if there's like if the best move is like 30 centipawns better, I'll go with that move. Otherwise, if I have a branch of moves and they both transpose, I will always go with the move that allows me to transpose. I'll give you an example. So, like in the Sicilian, if white plays bishop c4 here, one of the reasons I play knight f6 is because we can transpose into a Najdorf, which is what I play. And so, if white plays d4, well, I guess that's not the best example here. How would I do it? Okay, if he plays knight c3, let's say, I will play e6 because we can still transpose into a Sozin. And you can see that in my notes here, right? Both a6 and e6 allow us to transpose into Najdorf, Sozin, Lipnitsky. And so if white plays, well, even castles will still allow us to transpose. But let's say d4, take, and then a6. We've now transposed into a Sozin. Now, one of the reasons I really love CPT is that the database works with transpositions, and I don't think chessspace does. So we get to this tabia, and this tabia is shared in the database no matter how you get to it. So it doesn't have to be specifically this move order e4, c5, knight f3, d6, and so on. As long as this position occurs on the board, whenever I get to this position, I will see my notes here. And so I guess it's basically like Fen based, essentially. And that's and again, I don't think chessspace actually does that. The other thing I like about it is like in chessspace, it's hard to read your note. You can't put notes in just like you can here, the comments. So that's the other reason I like CPT. Okay, so what was I talking about? So yeah, I was talking about how I always go with the transposition. If I have two moves, like here again. So here, when I ran this, so e6, there were multiple moves that are like these three moves are all pretty equal in eval, right? E6, a6, knight c6. But knight c6, if I play knight c6 here, I'm getting into kind of a unique position, which is okay. But why not transpose into a position that I know very well? Right? So why learn two lines when I only need to learn one? So again, I'm specializing and I'm focusing. So I always go with a transposition unless, so for example, let's say knight c6 was minus 0.5. If Stockfish deemed knight c6 is minus 0.5, I will go with knight c6 because objectively it's the best move by a fair margin. But since they are all very similar, I will go with the transposition. Now, what if there wasn't a transposition? Well, then I will, maybe I might refer back to chessspace and go with the, let me switch windows again. So I might go with the one that has the best win rate. So if we go to that, well, we'll just use this position for now. So let's say I can't decide between, hang on. Let it load here. So let's say I can't decide between knight f6. What? Oh, sorry. I can't decide between knight f6 and e5. Right? Well, I might look in this database and see that, oh, look, e5 has a better win rate by about 3 or 4%. And then I might go with that. But other things factor my decision as well. So I might notice that my favorite player loves to play e5. Well, that will be an influence. Or I might look at the top rated players to play the moves and say, oh, all the super GMs prefer knight f6. So I really take this holistic approach to deciding on what I play. But then the priority is always going to be Stockfish. Okay. But again, if the evals are similar for the top lines, that's when I use other factors to determine what I'm going to play. Now, if I still can't decide after that, then I will often go through each option, each move, and kind of look at which I prefer, basically which resulting positions that I feel most comfortable with, which I'm most familiar with, or look at the most interesting. If I still can't decide, I will then look at the lines and look at it from my opponent's point of view and see how sharp it is for my opponent. So there might be two moves, like let's say like e6, a6. Well, let's just go deep. Okay, I forget what I was talking about. I got sidetracked. I'm just going to kind of show you a line that is a little bit deeper. So here we are on move 17. Everything still goes within my my setup. Let me change the screen here. So yeah, here we are, move 17 in a line I like to play. I still have this whole depth thing going on. This was with Stockfish 4. Oh, another thing I should mention is I regularly will update my evals. So even though I ran this for 2 hours previously, if the previous version of Stockfish is quite old, I will rerun it and I will update this information. So Stockfish 14 is still quite recent, but if it's Stockfish 11, I will often rerun it again with the latest version, which is Stockfish 15, just to get up-to-date numbers. And sometimes I will switch what I play. You know, if there's a big difference, like let's say Stockfish 15 suddenly gives e takes f7 here and makes it like minus 0.4, I'll make that change if there's like a clear shift in eval. Usually there's not much of a change though. Yeah, so here I have my notes again. I will update this with my thoughts, and also it helps me remember the openings. If I explain the ideas behind the opening, that really helps you to remember the opening. Another thing I wanted to mention is, how do I remember all of this? Because like, how much do I have stored in here? It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. Like, I don't know, 20,000 moves. Did I memorize 20,000 moves? I don't know. Maybe 10,000. It's hard to say. I guess a programmer could look it up on how many individual moves I have in here. So what I do after every single game I play online and in tournaments or wherever, after I finish the game, it might not be immediately, but I always keep the tab open in my browser. So whenever I play a new game, I just open up a new tab. And when I review the game, I will open it up in CPT and just make sure that I played my repertoire move. If I did, great. I will then try to learn the next best move and just keep going. And then you just learn another move deeper, and you just start to memorize it. If I didn't play the right move, then I just try to remember it for the next time. Oh yeah, I need to play H4 here. And then I just try to remember that for next time. But I always just go over the opening every time, and I just learn one move deeper every time. Yeah, so let's just take a look here. So if we just keep going down this path in this variation of the Najdorf, like here we're move 20, I still have repertoire information. And these are all deep runs, right? Like even in this position, I ran it this long, an hour 15, Stockfish 14, consulted it with chessspace 16 database, right? And I've and I get these positions, like even though we're move 22, I often I have a pretty good memory. And so this particular line, it currently ends on move 22. That's where I have it ended. But if maybe a year from now, I might have it a little bit deeper, maybe move 24 or so. And you can see my notes here. So if we go back to the very, very beginning of this video, you remember that I ended it on depth 44. I usually want it to depth 49, unless there's a clear, a very clear difference. But yeah, sometimes I will end it earlier, to depth 42. Yeah, so I'll say no need to go deeper in depth. What else to say? I'm sure I'm missing a lot of stuff that I want to talk about because there's so many things that I put into my openings. But I think I've covered the majority of it so far. If you have any questions, of course, just ask in the video and I will address them either directly or possibly in another video. But I think I've covered most of it. Yeah, so I'm also curious to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think I go overboard with my openings? I'm sure I do. And as I say, I always have Stockfish running in the background. Right now I don't because I'm making this video and I can't run it. But normally I always have a new opening to run deeper and to learn one line deeper. I think that's it. I do know that I forgot stuff, and I will kick myself for not talking about it. But again, let me know in the comments and I can address them. So that's it. Hopefully this was interesting or helpful for somebody. Thank you.